In today's video, I am sharing how I made $5,000 off one single stock investment in 1 year and 9 months. And not only that, I'm also going to share how I only made $500 off one stock investment in just over 2 years. I am Tiffany Thomas, your wealth mentor. I achieved financial freedom in my 30s and became a millionaire at 40. I'm here to help you do that even earlier and easier and without bias. I do not work for any third parties, so I'm just sharing what I have learned along my own journey. So let's dive right into this. I'm going to share that one single stock investment that I made to make that $5,000. And then I'm also going to share how I invested in another single stock investment and only made $500. And I'm going to share my thought process on how I was able to make that $5,000 and then compare that to the investment that I only made $500 on. And then I'm going to share my key takeaways about investing after having these two really different experiences. And as I'm going over all of these details, if you want help investing in the stock market, I have a free masterclass where I go over how I can help you invest in the stock market. I will leave a link below in the description and you can check that out later on. The stock investment that I purchased to make $5,000 was Netflix. I purchased 100 shares at $99.85 per share. You can see my screenshot. This is when I had my Capital One investing account, which is no longer offered. But I purchased 100 shares in October of 2015. I ended up selling only 62 of those shares at $184.50. So again, another screenshot. You can see I sold Netflix, the 62 shares, in July of 2017 for $184.50. And then I want to show the math. So I was able to purchase I purchased 100 shares, but I only sold 62. So we're talking about 62 shares at $99.85. So that gives us a total of $6,190.7. And then I sold 62 shares at $184.50 per share. So you can see the math on that. It's going to give us a total of $11,439. So if we take that $11,439 minus the $6,190.70, that gives us a balance of $5,248.30. So just over $5,000. Which is an 84.78% return on my money. So this is pretty impressive. And that was just after 1 year and 9 months. But now I want to share kind of the flip side, because this doesn't always happen. I don't want you to think that you can always invest in an individual stock and make really high returns in about 2 years. So the flip side, I was talking to a friend and I ended up listening to what he was investing in. It was a particular stock and he was expecting it to double within maybe a year or so. And I thought, you know what? He could be right. This could be a really good investment. I want to double my money in a year or so. And that greed started to seep in. So I didn't really do my homework on the stock. It's not a stock that I was watching for a long time like I was with Netflix. And I'll go over my process in just a moment on how I purchased and sold the Netflix stock. But I just kind of wanted to share these details with you because no one is perfect with their investing. We can get better and better over time. And we need to be careful with what we are investing in. Anyway, I purchased the stock and I ended up spending a total of $30,000, 582.24. And after I purchased that stock, after I spent that amount of money, which is pretty significant, that stock price started to fall, and it started to fall even further and further. And I was patient and I waited and waited. And then I really started to think about the stock. And I thought, you know what? This was not the greatest idea, Tiffany. It's not a company that I was following, like I said. And I wasn't really paying attention to this company over the years. And the stock price, luckily, was able to come back up to the original price that I purchased and just a little bit over. And since my reasoning had changed, well, my original reasoning wasn't that great in the first place, but since I had thought, you know what, I really don't feel like this stock is a good investment for me, I wanted to get out. So I ended up selling and I received $31,096 when I sold the stock. So I did make a profit of $513.76, which is a 1.68 return in 2 years and 3 months. So you can see that return is really, really low compared to the Netflix stock. Here is my process for buying that first company, Netflix. I was familiar with that company, with Netflix. I saw a lot of my friends using it, and I really saw the potential for growth. And then the second thing is, I also realized that this company was replacing another company that my friends and I were using before. It replaced Redbox. We didn't go to Redbox anymore. We would just stream on Netflix. And so I started watching the stock. I was looking for different news articles and did a little research about the company. And I wasn't checking the stock every single day, but maybe once a week, because I was very interested in purchasing Netflix. And then when I saw the stock take a little bit of a dip, I bought, and I bought a lot. I really felt like this was a good company, so I wanted to invest a lot of money in them. And that's exactly what I did. And then when I was keeping my eye on this stock, because I always keep an eye on my individual stocks, I saw that Netflix dropped below the price that I had originally purchased it for. So I reviewed my philosophy for buying this stock in the first place. Did I still think it was a good company? Did I see the potential for growth still? And I agreed that the reasons I had originally purchased were still valid, so I didn't want to sell the stock. Unlike the other stock, I no longer wanted to hold that stock. I didn't think it was a good investment anymore, so I wanted to get rid of it. And then with Netflix, I was patient and I waited instead of selling the stock, right? I knew it would come back up over the long term. And then when I did want some extra income, when I wanted to cash some money out, I started checking the stock price maybe once a week or so. And then when I saw the stock price jump up about $20 within one day, I sold the amount of shares that I wanted to get the total amount of income that I wanted. Remember in the beginning of the video, I said I purchased, I think it was 100 shares, but I only ended up selling 62 of those shares. So I didn't sell them all, but I sold for the amount of income that I wanted. And then the other thing I did was not to check the stock price right after selling. I don't like living in regret mode, so I didn't want to know if it jumped up significantly right after I sold the stock. I felt like my decision was good. I wanted the amount that I cashed out, and so I thought that was a really great price, and so I just called it good after selling my stock market investments. And then of course, later on, I continued to check that stock because I still owned shares of that stock. So here are just a few key takeaways that I want to share with you after going through these two very different experiences. One, making a significant amount of money within about 2 years. And then the other one, not making hardly any money at all within about 2 years. So the first thing is know what you are investing in and really feel comfortable with your investment. Do not take hot tips from friends or random bloggers or random YouTubers. We want to know exactly what our investments are so that we can feel comfortable and we can realize that they are still good investments even if the stock market price starts to go down. And that way we're not scared and going to sell our investments. And then also, if we can keep a long-term mindset, we are going to be a lot more successful with our investing. I have definitely seen this with my investing. And just to share, even with that Netflix stock, even though I sold some of the shares shortly after, about 2 years after purchasing them, and seeing how much the stock price has gone up over the even more long term, I don't regret selling because I made my decision then and I wanted that money for something else. But seeing how much more it's grown, it would have been amazing to have even more still invested in Netflix. So I'm not trying to make a quick win like I was with that other investment thinking, oh, I could double my money in a year. And that did not end up happening. So the longer term mindset we can have, the more successful we're going to be. Because if we are so focused on that short term and making a quick win, we're probably going to buy a lot of investments at higher prices and sell them at lower prices. And we want to be doing the opposite. And then also, if you want to make investing very simple, you can always invest in an index fund or an ETF. Those index funds and ETFs have a lot of stocks inside of just one single fund. So we aren't being so risky by investing in an index fund or an ETF, unlike when we invest in individual stocks. We're being extremely risky because if we only invest in one single stock and that stock ends up tanking, then we are losing our entire investment. But if we're invested in an index fund and one of those stocks out of the thousands or hundreds inside of that one fund goes bankrupt, then we aren't going to lose all of our money because we have so many other investments inside of our index fund or our ETF. And then the last takeaway I want to share with you is realizing that every investment is a trade-off. Once we make a certain investment, we're not able to take that money and put it somewhere else because it's already being invested. So we want to be really smart with our investments, because if we select an investment that gives us a really low return, our money could have been in a different investment giving us a higher return. So we really want to be careful with the trade-off and make really smart and strategic decisions with our investing. Hopefully that was helpful and you can see the potential we can make with investing our money, and also how to be careful with investing our money so we can do it even better. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you do want help being successful with the stock market, I have that free masterclass. I'll leave a link below in the description. Make sure and click that link and check out the free masterclass. And please hit that like button and the subscribe button. That will really help my channel out and we can get this content out to more people. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.